Hi and welcome back to another story from Reddit, Tales from Tech Support. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for future content. Let's now get straight into today's video. Different agent, same answer. Hello friendos. Another day, and the forehead-shaped dent in my desk continues to grow ever larger. Today's story is about a man I'm going to call, for some modicum of privacy, Ken. Ken is about my age, so late 20s early 30s. And he likes to repeat himself while not listening to others. A lot. Ken called the help desk about a week ago. Laptop is running really slow. Like, open an Excel sheet, go to the bathroom and get a cup of coffee, come back and it just opens slow. He's also getting some disk space errors every time he logs in. Being the helpful little drone I am, I remoted in to look around, ready to run disk cleanup since he seems like the type to never empty the recycle bin. Oh, how wrong I was. My dude has less than 600 kilobytes of free space left on his C drive. That's kilobyte, with a K. After running disk cleanup. To be fair to the guy, he does have a small-ish HDD for his job. It was a 250 gigabytes, but still, 600 kilobytes. Apparently, he likes to save everything in the documents folder. I tell him there's not a ton I can do. He needs to delete some of the files on his computer, or better yet, move them to his company shared drive, that has 1 terabyte of space with the option to go to 2 terabytes, so it's not like he'll fill that up anytime soon. After going in circles for a few minutes while he explains his issues with every single program he uses, it finally sinks in that maybe, just maybe, it's all related to having absolutely no free space on his C drive. He agrees to delete some stuff. I make sure to emphasize the importance of also emptying the recycle bin to actually free up space, and move some other things to his drive. Put a nice little bow on everything, close ticket, and forget about it, right? Since I'm making a post about it, that's a very wrong assessment. As of a couple hours ago, this guy has literally called in 14 times so far, for the same exact issue. He's spoken to every one of us at the help desk multiple times, and he's gotten the same answer every time: delete and/or move stuff. And he just won't. He hasn't even really tried. Last ticket we have, he was up to a whole 4 megabytes of free space. Best part? Someone eventually took pity on the guy and escalated a ticket to the on-site team to see about upgrading his HDD yesterday. And they said no, because he just got his computer a few months ago and his job role does not necessitate anything larger. Guess I'll just have to wait for Ken's next call. Maybe I can get him up to 5 megabytes of free space. Or, keep trying to reason with him until the heat death of the universe. Whichever comes first. Paper trail. Not quite technical support but similar. I had a lot of experience as a system tester and I was between contracts. I saw a short-term contract for a user acceptance tester, UAT, which I decided to take as I was a bit bored but thought it would be an easy number. When I start I realize I am really the only experienced tester on the team and the manager while experienced in doing UAT before it was in one company she had worked for in years. In other words, her knowledge of that system meant she knew how to use their system but didn't really have any experience creating test plans for a system she didn't know. She wanted all tests to be done on paper, and stored was the first sign she was clueless. She asked the team to test things in the most inefficient way possible and had us repeat nonsense tests that didn't test the parts being upgraded. Her basic plan was trying every visible field 1,000 times but virtually nothing on the processing of customers. So the easy number is becoming a very boring nightmare with huge amount of wasted time. I bite my tongue for about 4 weeks. During this time the project manager would regularly visit our area and talk to the manager. Open floor plan so we could hear everything. The PM is asking for a progress report repeatedly, but manager says how difficult it is, because she decided to do it all on paper. So after a few weeks hearing this, I just chimed in and said it would be possible if we changed a few things around. Really was not hard and would save us a ton of time. PM is delighted and says we should try the way I suggested. Manager, very visibly angry at me, argues that it would be very difficult to change her process. PM still wants it, and as she explains why it won't work, I explain how to address her concerns. PM tells her to make the changes. She is not happy. She also has to sit down with me as I explain what has to be done, as she has to understand it. 2 hours of trying to explain how it would work, and she gives up and tells me to do it myself and show the team, and if they could understand this crazy method, she would be surprised. I download a testing script tool, copied in some of the tests, showed the team, they all got it instantly because it is very straightforward. Now the tool was free and the reporting was great, but all out needed to do to solve that was right track the daily numbers and enter them into an Excel sheet, add a few formulas. I explained the need for Excel and I would be happy to create the sheets, but she says, I know Excel, thank you very much. She puts me on duty of printing all the tests on paper that are now stored in a database because it is a government requirement. It isn't. A few weeks go by and the PO comes over and asks where all the reports are, and she says the new system is causing chaos and she couldn't get the reports out and we have fallen way behind. PO turns to me and is angry and asks me why my new system didn't work. I open Excel and show him the figures I had tracked, because a 10-minute Excel sheet was not much work. Not a full report, but all the data to easily analysis it more. He is delighted and starts to be puzzled why I had a report and the manager didn't. Manager starts giving out, saying I never gave it to her. Had to explain I offered and she refused, saying she could do it herself. The PO looks at her and she changes the subject to the data, saying the figures are so much lower than they were before. The PO looks at her and asks how she could know, as she wasn't able to keep track. She starts going how she just knows from how busy we are. Strange how not needing to get up and down to the printer makes us less busy looking. So I chime in we could look at numbers of paper records. She smirks as her filing system proves better than mine. We go to the shelf with all the paper tests. I point to the dated boxes on the lower shelves with 6 file boxes of paper tests, then I point to 3 other boxes that just said test scripts. The 3 are from the original process and the 6 are from the new method. I explain how the boxes marked test scripts are not in order, so I couldn't date them. We would just throw the into the box after the pile got too big on the desk and often knocked over and shuffled back together. Then I gave a little nudge to show how crazy she was. I must admit the headers on the newer test is a little bit bigger. She jumps at this and takes out an old test and a new test. Old mangled test with tons of inscribbles on the test versus a test that had barely touched human hands. There is a 2-line difference. She goes on to say how much extra paper the new tests use. The PM is looking at her in disbelief and asks to see her in the meeting room. She is in there for about 30 minutes, comes out, grabs her bag and coat and leaves. Close to lunch, so the mystery of if she is coming back is there. I go out for lunch, come back and can see her sitting at her desk and I owe to sit down. She is visible tense as she comes over. The PM wants you to do the reporting and asked would you meet him to discuss any changes he might want. Meet with PM and he wants a pivot table and that is about it. He then asks me to explain to the manager what all the figures mean. Spent about 30 minutes trying and it was obvious she was too mad to listen. It ended up any time she had a meeting she would run to me to get the latest report, and sending me emails from the PM because she didn't understand the questions. Very basic stuff like percentages of completion, progress rates, etc. I stayed until the next event, which I will post some other time. Edit. Just to note about the manager, as I may not have been clear enough. She was on a short-term contract, having been a UAT manager with 2 years experience. She wasn't an employee who had been promoted. In her last role she had worked for the company for 20+ years and had been assigned to be a UAT manager just before they made her redundant. She had been paid a large redundancy amount and was en route to early retirement by doing some high-paying contract work to put into a pension fund. While she had been a UAT manager, it was for one small section of a system and in the confines of a large support structure. Basically, she would have been told what to do and be hand-held the whole time. This project was an entire system replacement and the company was old and had never implemented such a project for 15 years. When they were hiring, they saw UAT manager and thought that is all that mattered. She had 2 years experience as a user who was needed to test the product as opposed to an experienced UAT manager. I had 16 years of testing multiple project or varying sizes. It is very common for an existing manager to be put in to manage UAT but rarely without guidance. The company were trying to save money by not having system test and UAT, but that is a whole other story.